We are going to look at a sample GRE sample issue topic, because as it stands now, you are going to be writing one task in the GRE exam, which is the issue task. And I said it's for how many minutes? It's for 30 minutes. All right? It's for 30 minutes. So when the first thing to do once you are given the question is to analyze it. And if you have 30 minutes to write an entire essay, you should use maximum of 1 to 3 minutes to analyze. All right? So that you can write the essay for about 25 minutes and possibly use 2 minutes to review. So you have your 30 minutes. All of this planning is your responsibility. All right? So the first thing to do is to analyze the essay. Very simple. What is the analysis you are doing? You look at the topic firstly, and then you see, like, the government should offer college and university education free of charge to all students. This is the question. Then you go to the instruction. In the instruction, there's a word you are looking for. The word will tell you what this topic is. So, for example, discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the recommendation. All right? So, that means this is a recommendation. What is a recommendation? A recommendation is like somebody is making a suggestion to you. Do you understand? For example, you want to go to school in the US, and then maybe I have some information that make me feel you should go to the UK. Then I can present that to you as a recommendation. Oh, you said you want to go to US, but I think you should go to UK because of XYZ. So at the end of the day, you are still left with the decision. Do you understand? You can still say, yes, okay, I buy into the idea, into the recommendation, or, I'm taking my. So this is a recommendation. You need to understand that because it should reflect in your writing. All right? You may not just be using the word, recommendation, but it should reflect in the logic, in the mindset behind everything you are going to be saying. So that is that. Now, after you do that, if I were you, I can just write recommendation somewhere in my notes, because you'll be given a scratch paper for note taking. Do you guys understand that? Now, the second thing is you need to look at the question and take note of some keywords, maybe something like government, something like university, something like college, something like education, and then something like free of charge, which is a phrase, even student. So if I look at government, what are the synonyms I can remember instantly, all right, about government? If I look at college, if I look at the university, if I look at education, if I look at free of charge. So these are like keywords and key phrases that I can bring out from the question. All right. Now, as soon as I bring out these words, the reason why I'm bringing them out is to quickly write at least maybe between 1 to 3 words that you can use to remember, to interchange, to replace them when you are writing. All right. But remember, you shouldn't waste so much time. There are times that you may even look at a word, you don't remember anything. Institution, maybe place of learning. All right. Place of learning, institution. Education. Education can be replaced with schooling. And free of charge. What can go with that now? Government. Yes. All right. So those are the words I can actually remember instantly. So I take note of them. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is you are asked to discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree. Now, under that, whenever you hear questions that talks about extent, it means there are two extremes. Extreme number one, I can agree to a reasonable extent. All right? I can agree to a reasonable extent. If I agree to a reasonable extent, it means that I do not agree entirely. Do you guys understand that? So that means I agree and I also disagree. So in my essay, I'm going to talk about agree, I'm going to talk about disagree, but I'll talk about agree more because of the word I'm using here is agree. All right? Now, what if I say I disagree to a reasonable extent? That means in the essay, I'm going to talk about disagree and agree. But since the word I use here is disagree, I'm going to talk about more on disagree. Do you understand? So that is one extreme. The second extreme is you can decide to agree completely. So I can say I agree completely or entirely. So if I agree completely, it means that I'm going to focus my writing on agree. Do you understand? So now, after that first analysis of bringing out the words, the next thing you need to decide is to look at the topics, and then because whatever part you are going to take should be a function of which of the parts you can write so much on. So if I say I agree, will I be able to defend it? If I say I disagree, will I be able to defend it? Do you understand? So that is what informs whether to say I agree or disagree. And that is what is called thesis. So the next decision you make is the thesis. Government should offer college and university education free of charge to all students. Well, let's say we agree to a reasonable extent. So I may just reasonably agree. All right. So that means I'm going to talk about agree. I'm going to talk about disagree, but I'm going to talk about more on agree. All right. Now, after that, the next thing I need to bring out is the supporting point. Because my essay is going to be based, the body section is going to be based on the supporting point. The supporting point is the reason, or supporting points are the reason behind your thesis. All right? Yeah, so we're going to bring out 1 to 2 supporting points that we can write on. I'll just call my own SP1, which is supporting point 1, right? Could be, this will enable a higher proportion of the populace to have access to education. When colleges and tertiary institutions are offered free of charge, you will have a higher number of the people in that country, in that city, going to school or accessing education than when it is expensive. Than when it is not free. This is so because a lot of people are not able to attend school today because they can't afford the fees. Do you understand? So this might be my reason number 1. Now, remember that this is still under note making. Now, when you want to write it in your computer, you may still fine tune it. You may still, refine it to add some things to it. But this is my first reason, that is going to help a higher proportion of the populace to have access to even quality education. Do you understand? So let's look at a second point. Now, a second point could be, now remember that you are both agreeing and disagreeing. So this point now is going to be on disagree because we'll give you one on agree. Do you understand? Now, however, researchers have shown that when things are free, people don't usually value them. Do you understand? That is why you see when, big organizations like UNESCO's and all of that, when they want to give free item, whatever they are giving free, it usually comes with a lot of stringent conditions. Do you understand? Stringent conditions. Because number one, people will abuse it. Even people that don't need it, they just come for the fun of it, take it. For example, you are sharing maybe phones, for example. Now, maybe because you just believe that this community, maybe a rural community, for example, these people should have access to mobile phone to help them communicate with their loved ones outside, the hometown or the village. Now you decide to give phone. You discover that even some people that are living in neighboring cities, once they hear, they will go to that village because they want to collect the phone, even if they already have bigger phones. So you now see the person that want to do that kind of um, freelance something will now put some kind of stringent conditions. So that is how it is. So when things are generally free, people want to abuse it. Even the person you are giving the phone may not know the value, may just be keeping it carelessly. It's common to all of us. It's common to everybody. When you work to buy an item, the way you value it is different from maybe when your daddy just give you money to buy something. You understand? That one you work to buy, you take it very, very seriously. So in the same vein, you see, when educations are made free by the government, people some people might abuse it. They might not take it seriously. You may see parents even allowing their word to miss schools, without anything. You see students not even taking it serious because after all, nobody is paying for the bill. Do you understand? So that is the second point I would give under this scenario. Now, the next thing you need to take note of is the topic. Why you are going to take note of the topic is because it's going to help in your general statement. Now, what is this question about? Government should offer college and university education free of charge. So it's very simple. It's just talking about free education, right? So it's talking about free education. When you read it up and down, that's what it's talking about. So my general statement is going to be about free education. All right. So now let's come up with a general statement for this question. Continuous general statement about free education, because we have analyzed this topic, this question, to agree that it is about free education. So this is a spontaneous general statement. Education is the pivot and focal point of human progression and development. When it becomes free, you have more chances of having a better society. Do you understand? So this is a general statement about free education. So I'll take note of this. Now, the next thing you need to do is to paraphrase this question. Now, paraphrase means you should restate it differently. You should restate it in another way, but retaining the meaning. Do you understand that? So now, let's look at this. There are a few ways you can actually paraphrase a question. The first one is to look out for some words that you can easily change. All right? So, for example, offer, I can replace offer with make. Right? Then I can replace both colleges and universities as institutions of learning, or to be specific, higher institutions of learning, because both of them are higher. Do you understand? So I can replace colleges and university with higher institutions of learning. Well, if I want to replace education, I may use schooling, or depending on how we're going to phrase it. All right. Now, I can change some of those things. Now, after looking at the words I can replace with other synonyms, then I now look at changing the sentence order. The order of the sentence means instead of starting from government, you may start from education. Do you understand? You don't necessarily have to start from beginning, because what you are trying to avoid when you are paraphrasing, you are trying to let the examiner know that you are a human being, you are not a robot. So you are not copying and paste. You are not just carrying and drop. You refine it. But when you refine it, you still retain the meaning. Do you understand? You should retain the meaning of the question. So now let us paraphrase this and see how it will look. All right? Now, I can paraphrase this to be this. The recommendation, you remember where I got the recommendation from? Yeah, so this is the recommendation. The recommendation is that education should be made free to all students in higher institutions of learning. You see, did they mean the same thing? Obviously, yes. Now, I am not just copying this and paste. Now, remember in your writing, your essay is divided into three major parts. The first part is the introduction. The first thing you do in the introduction is to give a general statement of the topic, which was what we did before this one. Do you understand? Now, after the general statement, the next thing that follows is paraphrasing the question. So after that general statement, now the next thing you write is this one. Do you understand? Then after you write, each of them are sentences. After you write this, the next thing you do is to take a stand. That is thesis. And according to us, we earlier agree that we are agreeing to a reasonable extent. That is the thesis. All right. Then we give an overlook or an outlook. All right. Now that is the introduction, and everything will be in one paragraph. So once we are done with the introduction, then we now start the second paragraph, which is the first body paragraph. To do that, we will take our first supporting point and then talk about it, right? And like that, like that, like that. So what we are going to do now, I'm going to write on the system with us. Let's just see how that plays out. Yeah, so this is a sample response to this question. Obviously, we've done the analysis before now, so this is just a sample write-up. Now, this is the introduction. Education is the pivot and focal point of human progression and development, which makes it free. When it becomes free, you have more chances of having a better society. The recommendation is that education should be made free to all students in higher institutions of learning by the government. Obviously, this is contestable, although I agree firmly to a reasonable extent. Firstly, this is my first supporting point, all right? This is my first supporting point, and then this is my second supporting point, and then this is the conclusion. What's going to happen is this will be uploaded to our website, and then we'll place the link beneath this video. So you can just click on the link and then read through this sample write-up. And then also drop your comments on the YouTube if you have anyone. Thank you.